Hey, I'm Gretchen Rubin, co-host of the Happier with Gretchen Rubin podcast. And in a minute, I'm going to be joined by my sister Elizabeth Kraft, my co-host. But in the meantime, tell us, where are you watching from? We love to see where people are watching from. And also tell us, how is your toilet paper hanging in there? Are you managing? Everybody kind of lost their minds about toilet paper. Give me and Elizabeth a thumbs up if you're cool with with your toilet paper. Now let's see. Let's get Elizabeth. And here she is. Hello. It's fun to see where everybody's coming from. Hello from Brooklyn. Oh, so that's right near me. Oh, hey, Elizabeth.
Hi, happy Monday.
Happy Monday. Ooh, I'm a little high here. That's better. So what's going on?
Monday's a lot like Sunday.
You're frozen. Well, let me tell everybody what you're unfreezing. We're going to be talking about what do you do if you feel overwhelmed by watching the TV news? What do you do about that? Seems to be a common problem. And also, are you worrying about things that you can't control and that are not knowable? That is something that has been on both of our minds. But first, Elizabeth, I was asking them about toilet paper, which has sort of, I think, become one of the icons of this time. Colorado, Pittsburg, Oklahoma, Boulder, Sheree. Oh, that's great. International. Amarillo, Texas. Oh, this is so fun.
Well, Gretchen, we still have toilet paper. I'm happy to announce the only reason I have plenty of toilet paper at the moment is because before all this happened, Sara had heard a rumor that toilet paper would be scarce. And so she and I went to Target and bought a bunch of toilet paper that day before there was even a notion of that we would close school or any of that. But I still always am on the lookout because, it's not going to last forever. And I have not found any. So yesterday I did go count how many rolls we have.
Like your miser and your hoard.
Yeah. And I was trying to calculate, well, how long will this last? And anyway, so I've told Adam, we're barely going to the store, but I'm like, anytime you're anywhere, if it's there, get it.
Yeah. Well, I feel really lucky because my mother-in-law is one of these like super prepared people who has like massive stores under any condition. She's like the kind of person who's like, 15 jars of chicken broth or whatever. So I was like, how's your toilet paper situation? She's like, oh, we've got a lot. And I'm like, well, there's only two of you. So if we need to raid your pantry, I think we can have you like drop that on the corner for us. So that gave me like a level of comfort. Somebody says, I always have two 9-packs in the cupboard and haven't had to get any yet. So I think that's good. I was out of paper towels for a while, and 3 trips to the store later, I finally found some. Yes. Paper towels too.
I also had stocked up on paper towels. So, yeah. And Clorox wipes.
Yeah. Someone says I need paper towels badly. We got toilet paper from the little corner store. Yeah, that's one thing that people have said is sometimes you're better off going to like the little corner store, which in New York, it's like we've got these all over the place, than like the giant big box store. Somehow they seem to, somebody says can't find antiseptic wipes, can't find Lysol spray. Yeah.
A friend of mine, Gretchen, has done all of her shopping at her local liquor store. That's where she gets milk, flour, products. She's like, they have a small selection of staples. Yeah.
Do you wonder how they stay stocked? But then these are the mysteries we don't know. So Elizabeth, you and I were talking about something a friend of yours had said about how watching TV news was overwhelming.
Yes, this came up on the Happier in Hollywood Facebook group. One of our members was saying that just the news felt very divisive, and that he felt a civic responsibility to watch the news, but that it was something that led to a really awful feeling. So how do you stay informed but sort of not watch the news? And I was asking your thoughts.
Yeah. So if you're just joining, it's Gretchen Rubin and Elizabeth Kraft. We're the hosts of the Happier with Gretchen Rubin podcast. And the question on the table is, what do you do about managing TV news? My suggestion is don't watch TV news. There are many ways to get news, and in kind of from my observation, television news is often like really sucks you in, and it's often like really gives you a lot of emotional feelings. And so if you're finding it overwhelming, or like certain kind of news programs are too overwhelming, because maybe sort of like morning news is fine because it's sort of in a context, but then this cable news show is overwhelming. You can always read your news. And I find that that is the most kind of cool, kind of distanced way of taking in information, because of course we all do have the civic responsibility to stay up to date. But I wonder what our listeners do. What do people do to manage? Because listen, you're a news junkie, and as you said, like there's so much news right now. It's not like it's in your imagination. It's like there is actually news.
Yeah, and I enjoy watching it. I watch all of it. But a lot of people are saying they don't watch TV news, or that they only watch updates from like governors and mayors. Like we have Mayor Garcetti. They might watch, you know, his press conference, or Cuomo's press conference, but not watch the sort of all the news around that, which I do think is one thing you could do. Yeah.
Someone says I only limit myself to 10 minutes per day anymore, and I get overwhelmed. I listen to news podcasts. I think that's another way people are getting news.
Like the daily.
And then some people have different shows that they like, that they feel like give them the kind of information that they want in kind of the spirit that they want it. Because I think people have kind of, you know, we all have different ways that we want to engage. And so I think kind of mindfully choosing this is the right thing for me, not just like having it on in the background, maybe when you're cooking or something like that, where maybe it's just getting you riled up. Or you keep hearing the same message over and over again, where it's kind of might be bringing you down, but not actually educating you.
Someone says they only watch twice a week. It's all they can handle. Wow. I mean, I will say, if you don't want to watch, you can be sure that if there's something truly important, like, oh, your child's going back to school, you will hear that.
Yes.
Someone will text you.
Yeah. No, I mean, I was sort of thinking about that, because I was like, how is it that people know about something like you're supposed to wear a face mask now? Like, I felt like everybody knows, but actually, if you weren't watching TV and you weren't reading the news, I mean, it's not like they knock on your door, slip something there. I mean, in New York City, we're an apartment building, so you know, your people in your apartment building could tell you if you saw them. But it's interesting how connected we are, even without realizing it. It feels like there's like this hive mind. Somebody says online moods. Oh, somebody said, Gretchen, your books made my quarantine fantastic. Oh, isn't that nice? Thank you. That's so nice. Yeah, I read news, CBC News. Oh, someone says, I don't want to concentrate only on COVID-19 news. Well, I think that's true too, because there's important things happening in the world. And so you do want to be up to speed on it. Someone says the portal of current events on Wikipedia. I didn't even know that such a thing existed.
I didn't either.
Oh, this is great.
Someone says Sanjay Gupta's podcast is helpful. He has a new podcast that's about COVID-19.
Okay, right.
And I'm sure that's got good information. That's
and again, that's like find the source where you feel like you're getting the information that you want the way you want it. Speaking of taking a break from the news, we should remind everybody, again, it's Gretchen Rubin and Elizabeth Kraft. We're the hosts of the Happier podcast, that tomorrow is the day when we're going to be talking about Home Cooking by Lord Colin. You could still probably get the e-version and crank through a lot of it by tomorrow at this time, because it's a very quick read in the best possible way. I think not an insubstantial read, but a light and accessible read.
It's going to be really fun to talk about. She has such wit in her writing. It's the kind of writing that, seems like she just dashed this off, but know, it's like the Yeats thing, you know, a poem needs to look like it took no time at all, or read as if it took no time at all. Yeah. She's that sort of writer. Yes. Anyway, it's a great book. So everyone join us. And even if you haven't read it, it brings up fun things to talk about, such as entertaining and social life and all these interesting topics. So
how do you create a home? Anyway. Someone says, I didn't finish the book yet, but it's so fun to read. Someone says, I've been making maple bacon, baked mac and cheese, home cooking. Yes. You get double credit if you do a recipe. I will not be doing that. No. But here, I'll show you where I can, so this is my mother-in-law's handwriting, if you can see it, where she does her
look
own
at
notes.
that.
Yeah. My mother-in-law is a real cook.
So she made recipes from the book.
Yeah, I should call her and find out what her take was on it.
Yes.
So we're excited about that. But yes, you say the motto of my Kidlit group, both my Kidlit reading groups, is no guilt, and we encourage people to come, even if they haven't read the book. No guilt, and same thing here. It'll be a fun conversation, even if you haven't read it. But so it's we're the co-hosts of the Happier Podcast, and we are talking about managing the news. But Alyssa, this kind of brings up another issue, which I feel like is news related, in that it is what I am looking for in the news and often not finding, which is answers to my questions. I have all the same questions that you have and that everybody else in the world has, and we just don't have the answers to those questions yet. And yet it's very hard not to catastrophize, play things out. Well, what if this happens? Then XYZ thing is going to happen this summer or next fall, or what's going to happen to this kind of business, or what's going to happen to these kind of people, and to be to sort of play it out, even though I know perfectly well, nobody knows. Nobody knows. Yeah.
Which it reminds me of something, and viewers, tell us if you're experiencing this phenomenon as well. That Sara says, and that we've talked about on the Happier in Hollywood podcast, which is, she says, I don't know if it's going to snow in March. And that came about because at one point she was planning a trip to Minnesota with some family members, and they were concerned, how are we going to get there if it's snowing? And she said, well, I don't know if it's going to snow in March. I'm not going to worry about that yet.
Yeah. Right.
And whenever I sort of start down the line of going, well, is there going to be remote learning in the fall, or is school going to start and then have to shut back down? Or even closer to that, to now, is will camp happen? Jack's supposed to go to camp for the first time.
Right.
I don't know if it's going to snow in March. I can't know.
Yes.
I am someone who likes to worry about things, but I really can't find a point in worrying about it, because we just don't know, and nobody knows. The answer is not out there.
Yes, we know that we don't know. And you can sort of drive yourself crazy playing things out, but it's just wasted effort and wasted energy, because in the end, and often what I find is that things happen in a way that I didn't predict. So you might say to yourself, well, Gretchen, you're going to game it out A, B, and C, and you'll have figured it out no matter what happens. But then it's always F that happens, not A, B, or C. And so now Eisenhower did say, plans are useless, but planning is essential, or something like that. And I do think that planning is important, but it's sort of like a lot of things, they're not worth worrying about yet, because we don't know. People are saying that, the not knowing gives me anxiety. I think the not knowing gives us anxiety. The not having a time frame gives us anxiety. Like, if people were going to say, even if they were like August 1st or whatever the date would be, we would all kind of orient ourselves around a certain date, but we don't, you don't know how to pace yourself. Someone says, advice on summer wedding, anxiety-ridden bride over here, just not knowing. We'll see, that's tough, right? Because then there's so many things that have to be, have to be figured out. Yeah. Worrying means you suffer twice. Newt Scamander. Oh, that's a good line.
Yeah, that's a really good
Be
one.
mindful of the present. Yes.
I mean, I know I've seen online, some people who have weddings planned are just going to have them with like 10 people.
Yeah.
Very, very small. That's a tough one, the wedding. I guess on the bright side, you will save a lot of money not having like a big fancy wedding.
No, but have you lost a lot of money because of deposits and everything?
Well, that's a good question.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know maybe it might be that if you delay it, then you can keep, I don't know. I don't even know how it works. And that's another thing that I'm doing. I am not getting myself pulled into worrying about things that I don't need to worry about, because there's a lot of things I don't need to worry about. Like, I don't need to worry about that. Does anybody have any advice for anybody who's in the situation, for the bride who's watching, or kind of anyone in this situation? Do you have any suggestions or thoughts about how to handle it? I will say that I do believe, Mom, we always quote Mom, who said the things that go wrong often make the best memories. No one would wish that this had gone wrong, but I bet it will be memorable, and you will remember it, and everybody will remember it much better than they do the average college graduation or whatever, because these things will be so exceptional.
Funny, Gretchen, because Eliza, your daughter, turned 21 during this time. And I mean, I don't remember my 21st birthday. Do you remember yours? It was not remarkable, but she will always remember hers.
Yes. And I said, for the rest of your life, people will be like, oh, what were you doing on your 21st birthday? And she's going to say, oh, I know exactly what I was doing.
Somebody said, Gretchen, that worry is an unhealthy treat.
Oh, yes. That's a good way to think of it. Yes. And it often feels productive, even though it's not productive, unless it leads to action. So if you're like, I'm worried about X, and so therefore I'm going to do these 5 things, then that's useful. But if you're just lying there, or just sitting there, or there's literally nothing to be done, because there's nothing to be done because nobody knows. Someone said, first grandchild born last Monday, stressful. Well, we just, for our podcast, we just interviewed Casey Schwartz. And we, on one of our sisterly adventures, we met Casey and her mother, Marie Brenner, and we got such a kick out of both of them. We became friends with both of them. And Marie was just beyond thrilled that Casey, here's her grandchild born. Casey just had a baby. And I said, oh my gosh, Casey, you're going on this book tour for your book. And her mother was going to come with her, with her grandson, and take care of him and everything. And now they're seeing each other through FaceTime. And so
I know, that's rough. It's hard to find, like, it's, it's a grandmother wants to hold their grandchild, but this time will pass.
Yes.
In some form, and she will be able to do that.
Yes.
An idea that's coming up with.
Accept the situation. Worry won't change the outcome. That's very wise. Yeah. What were you going to say?
Oh, there's so many great ideas coming up about the bride and the wedding. And someone says, which is an interesting idea, have the vows and get married on that same day, but hold your party on your first anniversary.
Oh, that's a nice idea.
Yes. I know a lot of places you can actually get married online now. That's like Cuomo announced that in New York.
Yes.
So,
well, it's funny because people were like, who cares? But it's like, I think for some people, they will care a tremendous amount for a whole bunch of reasons. It's like, if you've got your mind made up that you're going to get married, like, it's not like something that you want to just mess around with. And somebody says the marriage is the important thing, not the wedding. Yes, that it is. But and and of course it always has to be said, like, and the way I think about this is there's public catastrophe, private calamity, and personal loss. And so there's the global pandemic, and then there's like this restaurant going out of business, which is the private calamity, and then there's our personal loss, our own personal disappointment. And I think we can talk about our personal disappointments without disregarding or pretending like that we're in any way saying what I'm feeling is equivalent to this, because of course it isn't. And we should of course say thank you to all the frontline workers and the postal workers, the grocery store workers, everybody who's working so hard, and all the people who are sick and lost their jobs. Like, there's so much happening, but that's happening in the context of our individual lives as well. And I think we can talk about all those things.
Yeah, because it's true. You're still sad that you're not having a graduation ceremony, even if you're happy that you're safe at home.
Yes, exactly. All these things can be true. So it's Gretchen Rubin and Elizabeth Kraft, for the host of the Happier Podcast. And right now we're talking about worrying about things that are not knowable. Or like trying to, and Jamie kept for a while, he kept stewing about the summer. What are we going to do for the summer? What are we going to do this summer? And I just kept saying to him, like, I'm like literally baffled. I'm like, I don't know why you're spending 1 minute thinking about this. This was like a month ago. I think it was just his stress response. It's like, why are you we have no idea what that's going to look like. And then he stopped. But I think for some people that is, and give us a thumbs up if this is your stress reaction. If your stress reaction is kind of catastrophizing or forecasting, that is a thing for you. That is a thing. But you've gotten a lot better at it.
I think I have.
I think I'm recognizing that it is an unhealthy treat. It's something that is kind of a thing but you also have this thing, and give us a thumbs up if you feel this way too. I think that sometimes it feels like bad luck not to worry.
Right.
And like you will offset something dangerous or make it less likely to happen if you worry about it. Do you feel that way?
I do, and I guess that's a superstition of some sort, but
super widespread. It's like,
yes, I do have that feeling. Like if I worry about getting sick, I won't get sick. If I worry about this, it won't happen. Now I have to say, in this case, I don't feel that way because it's global. I mean, I am not so narcissistic that I think my worrying about the coronavirus will cause whether or not the world is shut down through the summer. But it is, it is a stress response that I have. Gretchen, one funny thing one of our viewers said was that worries like sitting in a rocking chair. It gives you something to do, but you don't get anywhere.
Oh, that's a great analogy. Yes.
Which is true. And I do think that is, to your point, part of why we worry is just, it's something to do.
Yes. Yeah.
Well,
and it feels
productive.
It feels like you're doing something. But the problem is also it can often lead to conflict because and polarization, because one person will be like, but what about this? What about this? What about this? And the other person is like, sometimes we'll deny those feelings. You shouldn't worry about it. That's not a big deal. That's not going to happen. Well, you don't know that. That's not comforting. This is something I always talk about on A Little Happier is like when people say things, it's comforting because it's true. It's comforting when somebody tells you something that's true. When they say that's not going to happen, then all you want to do is say like, maybe you can't tell me that's not going to happen, And so I think, but then it also can become polarized. And I mean, I've seen this, Elizabeth, maybe you have too, and listeners give us a thumbs up if this has happened to you, where one person becomes the worrier and the other person becomes the dismisser. And sometimes it can be kind of positive, like where one person sort of does the emotional work that comes most easily to them. But sometimes I think it becomes very negative where one person feels like if I don't think ahead, if I don't prepare, if I don't if I'm not planning for negative, which you have to do to some extent, then no one will. And the other person is just blindly going on and pretending like nothing's happening to a degree where both people feel very kind of antagonized and unheard and resentful. And that can kind of launch that.
One thing I will say that I think is particularly sort of anxiety producing about this situation is the virus itself, where you don't know how it's going to affect you personally.
Yes.
So in other words, if you're going to get the flu, you know what that looks like. But you could get this and have no symptoms, or you could die. And it's like not knowing, like being a type 1 diabetic, I am technically one of the people sort of more at risk. And I'm just like, well, what does that mean?
Right.
I've
been wondering about that too. I've been sort of looking around. Yes.
Like, does that mean like I should stay home for 8 months, to really not get this? Because I just don't know. And I wish we could sort of take a test and say, okay, well, if you get it, this is going to happen. So is that okay with you or not? You know what I'm saying? And I think all of us not knowing how we personally or will react or family members will react is adding to the stress of it.
Yes. It's the unpredictability. And then you can play out so many different scenarios. I mean, this could happen, this could happen, this could happen, this could happen. Okay, change one factor. It's not my husband, it's my daughter. This could happen, this could happen, this could happen, this could happen. And then when you're playing it out, then you're like, okay, but research shows, or you can just spend a lot of time doing it. And I think there are so many things that are uncertain, but there are some things that we can control. And I think one thing that we're finding for ourselves and for other people is that it is comforting to control what we can control, to move forward where we can move forward. And in that spirit, we're having the accountability check-in. So again, it's Gretchen Rubin and Elizabeth Kraft. We're the hosts of the accountability time.
Yes.
If you are being held accountable for something, put it in the comments. If you've done something that you are being held accountable for, give us a gold star so we see that you are doing it. Are you doing Walk 20 and 20? Are you reading every day? Are you doing meditation every day? Are you keeping the dishwasher unloaded? Like whatever it is, what is it that are you avoiding snack bursts? Elizabeth, how's it going with the snack bursts?
My snack burst is going better. I feel like I'm getting better at not having that huge snack burst, as I call it, right before bed, of sort of walking past the pantry on my way to the bedroom. So that's good. My accountability for this weekend was to read stuff for work, and I did that. So I'm happy I read one whole book for work. I read a script for work. I'm glad I really spent a lot of time dealing with work this weekend. So I was glad. Thank you everyone for being my accountability group.
But so that also brings up, like, is your weekend like your weekday? Did you feel like your weekend and your weekday kind of blended together, or because Jack wasn't in school, did it feel very different?
Well, it felt different because Jack wasn't in school. And then also we did a family walk, like down to Ventura Boulevard and back, which is a pretty big, it's a pretty big walk. So that's something I think we should do every weekend. It really helps sort of be like, okay, on the weekend we do this big walk. So that was good. I slept late on Sunday. I slept till like 9:30 on Sunday.
That's good. That, every once in a while, maybe you need to catch up if you're especially. We also took a walk. One of my things that I'm trying to be accountable for is putting down my clipboard. And I always want to get everybody to exercise and go outside into the sunlight. And so I was very glad that Jamie was kind of like cracking the whip on that one.
Oh, good.
So all four of us went out with Barnaby. He gets very anxious though when we're all four there. He's like looking around like,
what's happening?
Where is everybody here? Hey, where'd somebody go? And like somebody goes too far in front, and he's like has to keep us all like together. It's cute. So we were thinking we should try to do this regularly. And again, the thing about the clipboard is it's a hassle to have somebody like me with a clipboard. But then on the other hand, that's really makes it more likely that things happen. So Jamie said something like, we should do this every day. And I was kind of like, okay, well,
that can be your job.
I'll come, but having the clipboard, I mean, who here is an upholder with me, or anybody who's got a clipboard, right? It's a lot of work to hold the clipboard. And it's kind of nice not to do it. And just be like, well, if you guys want to do family meditation, I'm here.
Here's my question, Gretchen. I challenged you to not dry your hair. Have you done that yet?
I did it. And the funny thing is I forgot like for the whole day to even look at my hair. And so it must have been fine because I didn't even notice it. So this is like a huge revelation to me. I haven't not dried my hair in decades. So now I feel like this whole new thing has opened up to me. Maybe I can embrace showers more. I don't like being cold though, so I think I will end up drying my hair most times just because I like having it dry.
Right.
But
anyway, it does open the possibilities.
No, and it's something that I've been meaning to do too for like 5 years, which is like I just never did. So you holding me accountable. I was like, I've got to report to Elizabeth about my hair. And by the way, when I mentioned that I was an upholder, if you do not know if you are an upholder, an obliger, a rebel, or a questioner, take the quiz at quiz.gretchenrubin.com and find out that aspect of yourself, because
we have a lot of clipboard holders here, Gretch, who are feeling your pain.
Oh, but it's interesting. It seems like a lot of questioners also hold clipboards. So that's interesting. Probably, someone says silver lining Gretchen. Oh, somebody says silver lining Gretchen from the blower. Well done. Segue, because drum roll. Okay, tomorrow we're going to talk about the book, Home Cooking.
Book club.
But Wednesday, we're going to talk about silver linings. We're going to talk about what is something that you have gained from this time. And of course, we're not saying that it's all equivalent, but we're all looking for what are the things that are working better now, or that we have learned that we can take forward into the future with us. I don't have to dry my hair every time. you may laugh and scoff, but that is not an insignificant silver lining to me. I'm very happy to have that. And Elizabeth, how about you? Are you going to start keeping a list of your silver linings?
Yes. I mean, one I've mentioned is realizing that some of the time I can just see my doctor,
yes,
you know, on FaceTime, and I don't have to drive an hour
yes.
to go to an appointment. Sometimes I will, but if I don't have to, that's a great silver lining. And that never would have happened without this.
That's great. So be thinking of your silver linings, because we're going to talk about that on Wednesday. And we want everybody to just pepper the comment section with silver linings, because I think it'll be really exciting for people to really see like what can be gained, what we can learn, and what we can learn from this experience, and also maybe what we can learn from each other, because it could be that somebody points out something that's really working for them, and that's how often we get an idea of what's working, can work for us.
Yeah. So our challenge, right, Gretch,
yes.
for the next 2
yes.
days is to make a list, or in your mind or on paper, of silver linings. Again, recognizing none of us wish this weren't happening. For some people, this is like truly tragic and horrible and personal. But for those of us who are lucky enough to be in a position to think of silver linings,
yes.
let's do.
But here's an example of a silver lining. A friend of mine's father died, and her Shiva was Zoom. And I was talking to her about it later, and she said, actually, there were a lot of things about it that she loved, because people were able to come and participate who wouldn't have been able to come in person.
Oh.
And everybody saw each other, and and I think she felt in that moment that it wasn't a replacement for a live thing, and probably she would have preferred that. And yet she did feel like doing it this way did give her a different kind of solace, and her family a different kind of solace that maybe they wouldn't have had otherwise. So maybe in the future you would have a Zoom element for kind of people who can't come. Maybe that's what you learn, is that they're additive, and that they both have something. And it's like, just because you have one in real life doesn't mean that you wouldn't also have one virtually, because that has like its own strengths and weaknesses to add to it. So be thinking of your silver linings. A couple people have asked me about the Moment of Happiness newsletter. This is a newsletter I send out Monday through Friday that has just like a wonderful quotation, because I love quotations, and this is my way to share my quotations with the world. So if you go to GretchenRubin.com/newsletter, pick Moment of Happiness, and you can get like a daily quotation. Just because that seemed to be something a lot of people were wondering about. So Elizabeth, tomorrow, homecoming.
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes, homecoming. And even if you haven't read the book, you can still enjoy the conversation.
Absolutely. Okay, so we will talk to you tomorrow again, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. And in the meantime, keep your hands clear. No, keep our hands clean and our minds clear. Bye.
Bye.